You know that feeling when the heat starts to rise in the back of your throat. It is a sharp, stinging pressure, a physical weight that anchors itself right behind your eyes. You are in a meeting, or perhaps at a dinner table with friends, or maybe you were just standing in line at the grocery store. When a single thought, a tone of voice, or a flickering memory hits you, your first instinct is almost always to fight it. You swallow hard, you blink rapidly, you look up at the ceiling, as if the ceiling could somehow pull the moisture back into your skin. You were terrified of that first drop falling, because you know that once the dam breaks, the world will see something you have been taught to hide. You feel a sudden, piercing sense of exposure, as if the walls around your private self have suddenly turned to glass. In that moment, before a single tear has even touched your cheek, the shame arrives. It is a heavy, cold companion that whispers to you, asking why you can't just be normal, why you are so fragile, and why you are making everything so difficult. This internal voice is a reflection of everything you have ever been told about what it means to be a strong person. We live in a world that often treats emotional expression as a technical glitch, a malfunction in an otherwise productive machine. You have likely heard the phrases 1,000 times since you were a child. Don't be so sensitive. It's not a big deal. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. These words settle into the marrow of your bones, convincing you that your tears are a sign of immaturity or a lack of character. But I want you to take a deep breath and just sit with me for a moment. I want you to consider the possibility that the voice telling you there is something wrong with you is actually the thing that is mistaken. That shame you feel is not a fact. It is a learned response to a society that is often afraid of its own depth. Your tears are not a failure of your will. They are not a leak in a broken vessel. They are a profound, honest signal from the very core of who you are, trying to tell you something that words cannot quite reach. When we label crying as weakness, we ignore the incredible amount of energy it takes to actually feel things as deeply as you do. It isn't easy to walk through the world with your heart so close to the surface. It takes a specific kind of courage to exist in a space where you cannot simply switch off your empathy or your awareness. If you are someone who cries easily, you have likely spent a large portion of your life trying to apologize for your own existence, trying to shrink yourself so your emotions don't bother anyone else. But what if we stopped looking at your tears as a problem to be solved? What if, instead of reaching for a tissue to wipe away the evidence of your feelings, we reached for curiosity? I want to invite you to put down the weight of that judgment, just for the duration of our time together. You don't have to fix yourself today. You don't have to promise to be tougher tomorrow. I just want you to see yourself clearly, without the filter of shame, and perhaps for the first time, realize that you are not broken. You are simply, beautifully, deeply human. To understand why you cry, we have to look past the social story and look at the body itself. Your nervous system is a masterpiece of balance. It is constantly working behind the scenes to keep you regulated, to make sure that the internal pressure of your life matches the external reality. Think of your emotions like a gas that expands to fill whatever space it is given. Throughout your day, you are constantly absorbing information, a stressful email, a beautiful piece of music, a subtle look of disapproval from a stranger, or the heavy weight of a long-term worry. For many people, this emotional energy builds up like steam in a pressure cooker. If there is no way for that steam to escape, the vessel eventually becomes compromised. Crying is not the breakdown of the system. Crying is the pressure valve. It is your body's most ancient and effective way of releasing that built-up energy so that you can return to a state of equilibrium. When you cry, your body is doing something incredible for you. It is literally washing away the stress hormones that have accumulated in your system. Scientific research shows that emotional tears actually contain different chemicals than the tears you produce when you are peeling an onion. They contain leucine and enkephalin, an endorphin that reduces pain and improves mood. When you allow yourself to cry, your body is performing a self-care ritual that is older than language. It is trying to soothe you. It is trying to bring your heart rate down and slow your breathing. Some people have thicker emotional skin, meaning their valves are tighter and require more pressure before they open. But for you, the valve is more sensitive. This doesn't mean you have less control. It means your system is more responsive. You are processing your environment in real time, rather than letting the pressure build until it causes physical illness or a sudden explosive outburst. Think of crying as a form of emotional breathing. We don't judge a person for exhaling deeply after holding their breath underwater. We understand that the exhale is what allows them to survive. For you, crying is that exhale. It is the moment where your body says, "This is a lot to carry, and I need to let some of it go so I can keep moving." We have been sold a false narrative that strong people are those who can hold their breath the longest. But there is no strength in deprivation. There is no power in becoming a statue. True strength lies in the ability to move through an emotion without letting it turn into a permanent blockage. When you cry, you are communicating with yourself and the world in a language that predates logic. You are saying, "I am impacted by this life." That is not a failure of character. It is an acknowledgement of your connection to the world around you. Tears are not a white flag of surrender. They are the evidence that you are engaged with your life, that you are present, and that you are brave enough to let the world touch you. If you find yourself moved to tears by a commercial, or a kind word, or even just the overwhelming beauty of a sunset, it is often because your brain is wired for deep processing. You aren't just seeing the world, you are absorbing it. For some of us, the filter between the outside and the inside is a bit more porous. This is not a defect in your design. It is a variation in how humans experience reality. You likely notice the subtle shift in a friend's tone before they even realize they are upset. You feel the tension in a room the moment you walk into it. You remember the small details of a story someone told you years ago because when they spoke, you weren't just listening, you were feeling the weight of their words. Because you take in so much more data than the average person, your emotional cup fills up much faster. It isn't that you are weaker than others, it's that you are processing a much higher volume of emotional information. This sensitivity is often tied to a high level of empathy. When you see someone else in pain, your brain doesn't just register it as a fact, it mirrors the sensation. You feel a ghost of their ache in your own chest. This connection between memory, empathy, and current experience creates a very rich, but very intense inner life. Sometimes, you might cry not because of what is happening right now, but because what is happening right now has tapped into a deep reservoir of everything you have ever felt. A small disappointment today might feel like the echo of every disappointment you've ever known. This can be overwhelming, especially if you grew up in an environment where this depth was mocked or suppressed. If you were told as a child that your feelings were too much, you learned to fear your own internal landscape. You began to associate your depth with danger. But the tears you shed today are often the tears that the child you used to be wasn't allowed to cry. They are a way of clearing out the old shadows so you can see the light of the present more clearly. We must also acknowledge the difference between being sensitive and being fragile. A glass vase is fragile. If you hit it, it shatters and cannot be easily mended. But a river is sensitive. It moves and shifts and reacts to every stone and every storm, yet it remains a river. You are the river. Your ability to be moved by the world does not mean you are easily broken. In fact, people who cry easily are often some of the most resilient people I know. Why? Because they don't bury their pain. They don't let it rot inside them until it turns into bitterness or physical disease. They face the wave, they let it wash over them, and they come out on the other side, cleansed and ready to begin again. Being tough is often just a fancy word for being numb, and there is no true life in numbness. Your sensitivity is a sophisticated tool for navigating the complexities of being alive. It allows you to experience the heights of joy just as clearly as the depths of sorrow. Do not let a world that has forgotten how to feel convince you that your capacity for feeling is a flaw. The path forward is not about learning how to stop crying. It is about learning how to trust yourself when the tears come. When you stop fighting your own nature, something incredible happens. Your sensitivity begins to transform into emotional intelligence. Because you are so intimately acquainted with the spectrum of human emotion, you possess a rare kind of wisdom. You can sit with a friend in their darkest hour without flinching. Because you aren't afraid of tears, you know they are just part of the process. You become a person who offers a safe harbor for others because they can feel that you won't judge their weakness any more than you should judge your own. This is a profound strength. In a world that is often cold and transactional, your ability to stay soft is a quiet, radical act of rebellion. However, honoring your emotions does not mean you have to be a victim to them. There is a difference between letting a wave pass over you and letting yourself be pulled out to sea. Part of this journey is learning how to build boundaries, not walls. A wall is meant to keep everything out. A boundary is meant to protect the precious things inside. You can acknowledge your tears while still maintaining your dignity. You can say, "I am feeling a lot of emotion right now, and I need a moment." And that is a statement of power, not an apology. You are taking responsibility for your experience. You are showing that you know yourself well enough to manage your own energy. This self-awareness is the ultimate form of control. Not the control that suppresses, but the control that understands and directs. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to remember that your worth is not measured by your composure. You do not win a prize for having the driest eyes in the room. You are allowed to be a person who feels. You are allowed to let the beauty and the tragedy of this world move you to the point of overflowing. The next time you feel that familiar sting behind your eyes, I want you to try something different. Instead of clenching your jaw, I want you to soften. Instead of scolding yourself, I want you to say, "My body is processing this. I am okay." Let the tears do the work they were designed to do. Let them wash away the stress, the shame, and the expectations of others. You are a deep, feeling being in a world that desperately needs more people who haven't turned into stone. Your tears are a gift, a sign of your vitality, and a testament to your courage. Sleep well tonight, knowing that you are exactly who you are supposed to be. You are whole, you are seen, and you are more than enough, exactly as you are.